live edition of the Ad Podcast. Happy Monday. We've got a great guest for you guys today. Greg Williams is the president of Backbone Media, an agency based just outside of Aspen, Colorado, also in Denver. World-renowned for their work in the outdoor enthusiasm, active lifestyle space with brands like Yeti, Black Diamond climbing shoes and equipment, and a host of other awesome outdoor enthusiasm brands. I think they've got New Belgium Brewing, obviously a brand based in Colorado and known for their celebration of outdoor lifestyle. So Greg, really excited to have you on, man.
Dylan, awesome. Nice to meet you. Nice to connect. I'll give you two fun facts here to start the pod. It's the eve of my 20th anniversary at Backbone.
Wow.
I've been at Backbone 20 years, and maybe if you're here long enough, you can go up the chain or whatnot. So I've worn a ton of hats, and I've also never done a podcast. So,
no way.
So happy to be on today. Always fun storytelling about people, brands, and work we've done at Backbone over the last 20 years. A ton has changed.
Yeah, that's shocking. You haven't been on a podcast yet with the proliferation, but I love to start every show with a little bit of an origin story. You know, I think you are a rare breed of an agency leader who's been at your shop for over 20 years. I was at my last agency for 8, and I thought I had a long run at it, but doesn't surprise me. You know, I think great cultures inspire people to stick around. So, you know, why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are, where you grew up, what landed you out in Colorado, and how'd you get into the industry?
Yeah, always fun talking about that time. I graduated from college in 1992 back east in central Pennsylvania. Job market was a little tough. I had been working at Hershey Chocolate. I was an intern in the accounting department. The path was, when you grow up in central Pennsylvania, you work at Hershey of the white picket fence, and life goes on. And it's
you do the thing.
1992, hiring freeze. The economy was pretty tough. And I had recently started rock climbing. My hoop dreams had come to an end in college, didn't go pro like I thought, not even close. But I had started rock climbing toward the end of college with a good friend, Todd Erickson. And he introduced Matt Branca and myself to indoor rock climbing. And there were a couple gyms back in the day. There was a barn in the region that had indoor climbing. And it was just starting to be an activity that people had heard of. So to make a long story short, Matt and I, 50-50 ourselves, started the Philadelphia Rock Gym. So it was indoor climbing gym in Philadelphia. It was very difficult to explain to anybody what we were doing, but it was a really, really interesting time. So again, first generation climbing gym. We built it ourselves. I remember going to like Lowe's and buying a hammer. I was also a very new climber, and so was Matt. And back there in the day, climbing gyms were owned by luminaries, regional icons, professional experts, or professional climbers. We were like 23 years old and building a climbing gym, and we got a little bit of backlash from the community, like, what gives you permission to start a gym? Like, I should have done it. So I've never really admitted this to many people, but I also bought a belay device as an owner of a climbing gym. Like, I didn't even own a belay device. So we didn't know anything about business and just the tiny bit more about indoor rock climbing. But indoor rock climbing, 1993 was when we started it. So it was one of the first generation climbing gyms. And we always wanted to, what we thought, our hypothesis was, there was a bigger climbing community than anybody knew, and that people were just out in the woods climbing with their partner, with their friends. There was nowhere for climbers to get together. So I read a book, The Faith Popcorn Report, on trends and some different things, and talking about experiences and how consumers are going to gravitate toward that. So it was kind of on trend, validated our nascent business plan at the time, and we built it ourselves. And from being from central Pennsylvania, it was kind of like an Amish barn raising. Like, the climb came together. Our original investment, I've also never talked about this, $30,000. We barely had enough money to buy enough holds to just make it to the top, more or less course set. Like we had stones with washers and a bolt, like very rudimentary. So we built it ourselves. The community came together. We had people working for free. It really, from day one, was a big success. We just had a little pleather bag. We didn't even have a cash register. First night, stacked shoes, harness, jog bag, $20. So anyhow, it really quickly, it really caught on, brought a community together that was really robust. And we were also very intentional about being welcoming and not being elitist. You could walk in an outdoor shop or a road bike shop or a climbing gym, like scary stuff, right? Like we wanted to be welcoming. We wanted to be welcoming to never evers, but we also wanted to cater to people that were serious about climbing. So we had a lot of climbing competition. We would have speakers. We co-hosted the Banff Mountain Film Festival, still running in Philadelphia today. So really this community came together and it was this amazing time. It was very co-ed. We were climbing inside, outside. It was just this great time within climbing. And then two things happened on the earned media side of things, which I didn't even know what earned media was back then. I had no clue.
Yeah, you're just trying to run a gym, huh?
Yeah, we're like, this is great. Like, let's course set, let's climb. We're living and breathing climbing. And we were voted the best date in Philadelphia by Philadelphia Magazine and the best birthday party, which was a little bit of a double-edged sword. Like Philadelphia Magazine was pretty popular. All of a sudden, we just are having so many birthday parties.
Yeah, the soccer mom crowd was out there, everybody learning at least.
Yeah, kind of good and bad. We doubled our rate for birthday parties, and then we did like twice as many more. So, but to a time, what it really did was just prove to me the efficacy of PR, of earned media. You get these hits, you get these awards, and just the value just continues for a long time. So we were just living and breathing climbing. It was fun time, kind of building a business, building more walls, expanding, investing every penny back into the gym, going out to California, scraping our way up El Cap, like just climbing all over the place, all kinds of stuff. And then I met my girlfriend in the gym, and who's now my wife. We just had our 20th anniversary Saturday.
Congratulations! Let's go. You're a long haul guy. First wife you met in the gym and 20 years at the agency. I like it.
Yeah, I've never been described as that, but met Carolyn. Carolyn was from the mountains in New Hampshire, and she's just like, "Hey, we're married a year. Let's move to the mountains. Let's go and live around maybe a higher composition of like-minded people." So kind of in a roundabout way, she found a teaching job out here in Carbondale, Colorado at Colorado Rocky Mountain School, which is this very well-known day boarding school that has kind of an outdoor-based curriculum and really located here in Carbondale because of the sense of place, proximity to public lands, confluence of rivers and whatnot. And really kind of this outdoor theme continues to, I ended up working there a little bit, impact my career. But we left Philadelphia. We left the Philadelphia Rock Gym, which I'm not sure I was exactly ready to leave the gym. It was like a little bit of coin in my pocket, a little bit, but like enough for me at that age. But Carolyn and I wanted to, live our life, move forward. We landed out here in Carbondale.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Have you ever been out here, out west?
I haven't been to Carbondale. I've spent a decent amount of time, trucking around Colorado. So I would, been to Denver multiple times for business meetings. We talked a little bit off camera. I used to call on some agencies in the Boulder area, one famous one that we won't name, but they had an iconic office out there, and it was kind of a fun place to go out to. And then there was a few others out in Boulder, a few in Denver. So I would visit the market from time to time. Actually, I closed Nestle in Denver before, when they used to have the Hot Pockets office out there. And I was the last meeting they took before they picked everything up and put it into a box and moved to Salon, Ohio. And they became my client from that meeting in the Denver office, and was a huge client of mine at my agency that I was at in my 20s. And Stars was a client of mine as well at that agency. So coming out and meeting with Liberty Media from time to time. And then other than that, I've been to Aspen for a wedding during the summer, which was a great time to come out there, do some river riding on the Arkansas, and hike the summit with friends, from the base camp all the way up to the ski lifts. That was a great time. And then during COVID, I was one of those weirdos that drove their RV through Breckenridge and down into Denver, and then out into Colorado Springs and check out Garden of the Gods. And, so I would say my Colorado, maybe I could count maybe on, one and a half hands how many times I've been out there, but absolutely beautiful country. You moved out there because you knew it was going to be, a playground for the things that you love to do. And I can definitely see the appeal for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting, Colorado. I mean, I say we've been duking it out from the corner of 4th and Colorado here for 28 years, but 20 years in the space I'm in right now. And just like the first time I went to Denver in '99, everybody had a truck and there were practically horses, on the street. Philadelphia, I was a little confused. It's very rural out here, and we're 3 hours west of Denver. But things like the agency you mentioned in Boulder, and just the relevance of the business community, agency community that's grown over time in Colorado, just in the 20 some years we've been here, has been just amazing. Huge.
Yeah, you got Crocs out there too in Boulder. That's a great client to be able to call on back when they were there too.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, so I think we've got your story up to moving out to Carbondale, but I got to hear more about how you guys ended up, in the industry, in the advertising industry, and at the agency that you've been with for 20 years. So I think I think you came out there originally for another job, though, right? You came out there to work at Climbing Magazine. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of close. I came out mostly to climb. So, okay, I mean, it's funny, Philadelphia Rock Gym, there's 5 of them now. It's still there. And
wow, that's so cool. And is it your original partner who maintained the ownership?
It's a couple times, but the part of the wall we built ourselves, it is amazing to me it's still standing because we ran out of money. And I shouldn't say this, but we had to build the last section of wall with part of pallets. We were taking pallets, but it's still standing. So I'm like, well, if that part hasn't fallen down, it's never going to fall down. But anyhow, there's 5 of the gyms, and the Philly Rock Gym is doing PRG, doing well. But so, yeah, Carolyn and I moved out here, pre-kids, no kids. She landed at Colorado Rocky Mountain School, which is boarding school. So you had housing and food. So there was maybe a year where I just climbed. So I was climbing
living the dream
all the time out here at Rifle, Black Canyon and Gunnison, Independence Pass. I mean, just so much rock climbing here. But over time, not many people can climb in the midweek. So I needed to start to figure out what I would do for work. And I always figured when I first heard of Carbondale, Colorado, which I hadn't heard of, that as I learned more, Climbing Magazine, which was an iconic, influential, virtually institution, was founded here by Michael and Julie Kennedy. And that's where you would figure out where to go, how to climb, partners, just everything. It was pre-internet, and it had such influence. And then also a very little known fact, from 1997 to 1999, the North Face headquarters was in Carbondale.
No way, that's awesome.
Yeah, people don't know that, and it's right across the bike path from us. I could see it out the window. Then they were in trailers, and that's when Jim Fifield owned the brand. 97 to 99. In 99, then it was sold and moved to the Bay Area.
Got it.
And there's some legacy land stuff near here that they donated, which was really cool. But when relocating from Philadelphia to Carbondale, I figured I'd work at Climbing Magazine or the North Face. So then this, kind of coincidental thing happened. Penn Newhart, who is one of the co-founders of Backbone, left Climbing Magazine because he saw the efficacy of earned media, of getting that editor's choice for a new rope or a new shoe or a hard-hitting review on a new cam or whatever it may be, and how powerful that was to the brand. So Penn left climbing, vacated his ad sales side of things to start Backbone Media. So he had a partner early on in that who's left the company really early on. And then Nate Simmons, who's a current co-CEO with Penn, joined 28 years ago. So Penn left climbing, opening up a job at climbing. I got his job at Climbing Magazine. Sorry, a little convoluted on the on the sales side of things when Backbone was started 28 years ago. So I was working in climbing on the sales side, as I mentioned, just living and breathing the sport, just couldn't get enough. And I'd been doing that at the Rock Gym for a number of years too, and just loving Carbondale. Carbondale, again, is 3 hours west of Denver, confluence of the Roaring Fork, Crystal River, beautiful mountains at the base of the Maroon Bells Wilderness area. So from a recreation side of things, it's amazing here. From a job and marrying kind of a job and the cost of living that's influenced by Aspen out here, it's kind of tough.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that.
What that looks like, and you see it across Jackson Hole, Telluride. I mean, really amplified now over the years. So it's interesting to kind of find that work-life balance. And really, when Penn started Backbone, really it was described as a social experiment. Can we provide a business that provides meaningful work in a beautiful place with a work-life balance? Seems a little marketing at this point, but that's what it was 28 years ago.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, you guys built a lifestyle agency, and so a lot of times, those are the best agencies, the ones that are born out of, people wanting to live in a certain place, to be partners with the people that they want to be partners with, or to tackle a particular niche of or a vertical. Coming off of Cannes, I just met with an agency consultant and I asked her, what's the number one thing that you're looking for these days when you're looking for agencies? And she said, really, it's point of view, in a sea of sameness. If you don't have a point of view on the world, it's really hard to sell you into a pitch if you don't bring a point of view. So I think it's an amazing story. Love the idea of like, hey, sometimes if you can't work at Climbing Magazine or North Face, sometimes you got to go build it on your own. But and I love the idea that Penn and the other founders really started the agency from the perspective of being a PR first shop. So really the power of earned media. They saw some of these PR hits, and you saw it earlier in your career back in Philadelphia. So it started as a PR shop. Maybe tell me a little bit about the early days. Well, how'd you like the sell side, and why'd you decide to jump over to the agency after being at the magazine?
Yeah, sales side. I mean, when you're on the sales side of things, it's pros and cons in terms of what's going on. Just the ability to be part of that iconic publication and everything that meant, and just at the point of what was going on in the sport of climbing, luminaries through the office all the time, climbing with Will Gadd, ice climbing, just all kinds of stuff all over the place. So loving that. It did start to get to a point on the sales side where you enjoy the relationships where you're brought in a little more deeply, right? You feel a little more strategic in terms of the partnership. And sometimes on the sales side of things, it's going to be transactional to a degree. And what I also started to find in my career, loving climbing, can't get enough of it. Maybe there's a little more to life than just climbing, just in terms of growing my career, understanding, learning from new categories. So I joined Backbone after maybe a few years at Climbing Magazine. Nate Simmons, Penn Newhard, running the agency here, had always known them and just had an opportunity to join the company. There were 6 of us. We had no titles at all. It was in the space right here. And it was just all of us doing it every day. And it was PR. It was 100% PR, and really specifically, it was product placement for the brands we worked with. So we were working with uphill skiing brands, climbing brands, alpine brands. 28 years ago, there were not many people that were alpine climbing, uphill skiing back then. So we thrived, and I think a bit from the Carbondale side of things, Western Colorado, we're authentic, incredible. We know the nuanced difference between these different categories. We can represent a brand authentically, incredibly to their core, and also then take that message a little broader. Like we got Black Diamond Ice Axe on the cover of Men's Journal, carbon fiber axe, like years, way long time ago. And it was a little bit like, is that good or is that bad? But just in terms of showing up authentically to a broader market, that's a playbook a lot of brands are using. And I even heard maybe a quote coming out of Cannes that brands are looking to connect with niche communities, and the power of niche communities on the broader markets, broader consumers. And that's Backbone's playbook. I mean, influence the core, take that message to an authentic, incredible way to a broader audience. And really with those PR relationships, and you're right on it, like Backbone, well known as a PR shop, product placement, those relationships are very sticky. They're very, very long-term. I'll reference maybe a few brands, 10 years, 20 years, 15 years, 16 years, where that PR relationship, you're riding for the brand, you are representing them to the media, just started to engender so much trust that then there was just a natural expansion in terms of services.
Into other areas.
Yeah. So when I came over, I was working really closely with Nate Simmons and Polartec, who I don't know if you would know Polartec, but you'll definitely know what they make. They're a textile ingredient brand. They invented fleece. So
okay.
There's 60 Minutes things that were famous. There was a fire, they paid their employees, there's this whole thing. But they invented fleece. And our partnership, and we've had partnerships with brands over the years that really kind of accelerated, catalyzed our growth into new categories and more services. But Polartec, because they were an ingredient brand, Nate, while co-running the agency, was the global marketing director. So we had a huge book of business with them that included co-op advertising, trade shows, advertising, PR. We managed their global agencies that became great friends with us. But because they're an ingredient brand, they're used by every single apparel brand, outdoor apparel brand.
Interesting.
So North Face, Cabela's, LL Bean, Land's End. So Nate and I were road warriors. We are traveling all over the place. If somebody wants Backbone in the room for a meeting, that is the highest compliment. We will be there. So again, from the corner of 4th and Colorado, flying in and out of Western Colorado can sometimes be a little scary, but whatever, we got really used to it. So traveling around the country, doing clinics, doing retail activations, doing fun things. I remember we did some product testing while heli skiing. That's good work if you can get it. So just some of that stuff in those Polartec days were really, really important for us growing our network. And that's what we are. We're a network of individuals. It's driven our new business. It's led us to hiring amazing people. And that network was really expanded working with every single apparel brand in the world globally.
Yeah, I love that. It seems like, you guys were early to a few trends, with Nate being the head of marketing for Polartec. It's that's what they would call like a fractional CMO now, right? Like somebody that the agency loans out to work inside of the brand. So you kind of control your own destiny a little bit by having, an embedded employee or a group of embedded freelancers working for the client. And then the idea of kind of coming in with, an ingredient, like I think about some other clients like Gore-Tex or Cotton or some of these other, some of these other brands that are like, they're really material. They're scientists. They're people who've come up with an innovation that then gets adopted by a category. And when you can get in with a client like that, then you get to touch an entire industry. So it makes total sense. And seems like you guys were early to some of those trends. So let me see if I get my timeline right. So you come into the agency as employee number 6. Are you only programming like magazine and newspaper channels back there, or like, I don't want to date you, but like, how close are you to like the internet starting?
We heard about it. So early on, really partnering with Nate on the Polar Tech side of things. But then, as I mentioned, those sticky PR relationships with, I don't know if you remember, brand like Cloudveil and Black Diamond Equipment, Polar Tech.
Yeah, Black Diamond for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a deep partnership there, and they just naturally wanted to expand. Where is our next customer coming from? How can our dollars work harder? Can you help us with our media buys? So back then, primarily, it was print, full page, right-hand read, prepay, right? Like just pretty simple. We'd love the back cover, like, how it went. Also a lot of sportsmen. We work for Gerber, hunting TV shows. So sponsorships of on-air talent, product integration, commercials, everything that went along with that. So it was pretty traditional back in the day. It just enabled us to be part of that paid conversation, which really defined who we've become, I'd say now for 20 years, working at the intersection of paid and earned media. So paid and earned media right now, everything is intersection everywhere.
It's interlinked, yeah.
Yeah, back then, separation of church and state, especially because we had such a PR business, I wouldn't say it was controversial, but, required some education in the market. We always found it as this gray area where we could be creative, we could do content marketing, we could take our brand knowledge from the PR side of things and really add paid dollars to scale the campaign, or say we were having an event that we really wanted an editorial team from, say, Hearst there. We'd have the publisher come, and the publisher brings Esquire editor. And so it always really, really worked well for us, and has, again, kind of defined our business between paid and earned. And I can talk about more services that have spun out of it. But
yeah, please.
Early on, maybe if I could reference one other brand, and I use this to storytell a little bit. A lot of people ask about it. You'll like it.
Yeah, so, it's beautiful. Ice pick.
Bamboo ice shaft axe. And you can almost see it says Chenard Frost there.
Yeah.
Chenard Frost, and then you see a diamond C.
Yeah.
So Chenard Frost was Pacific Iron Works, which was Patagonia's original company making climbing hardware to clean climbing in Yosemite. And Yvonne Chenard and Tom Frost were creating equipment out of their forge in Ventura. That company concurrently started making jackets. So that was Patagonia.
That's crazy.
Our equipment there was a lawsuit. So they divested Chenard Equipment, which became, you see the Diamond C, Black Diamond Equipment.
Oh, so, interesting. So that's the legacy.
So Black Diamond was born out of Patagonia. So now Black Diamond, clearly independent and separate company, but we have a deep partnership with Patagonia. We've been with them for a long time, but BD we've been with for 28 years. So we have been with them from the start. Peter Metcalf, their original CEO, he said, "We make products for sports with consequence." That's cool. I like that. It's alpine skiing, climbing, alpine climbing and whatnot. So that has been just an amazing partnership. We had some iconic PR 4,000 word stories called The Mutant Factory, featuring their company up in Salt Lake and how they product test and get out for dawn patrols in the morning in the Wasatch. The PR spokesperson, John DeGualo, who works here, he's been their PR person for 18 years.
Wow.
He is BD. He has the institutional knowledge. And I'd say what he really represents is what Backbone is aligning individuals' work life and personal passions with their day job. John's a runner, a skier, a climber. So he is BD a little bit, but he works from there. And just, I love what BD stands for, continues to stand for. Neil Fisk just last week penned a piece about the importance of public lands to all these brands and access advocacy is a core value for Backbone, and we believe people that can access public lands and climb and run and ski are going to appreciate them and protect them for the future. So a lot going on in the press there right now and with legislation. So really important and cool to see the outdoor industry, I think, raise the outdoor industry voice, which always didn't have a voice, which is interesting. Outdoor, just having been in it so long, used to be a secret handshake, right? You mentioned you climb. Like when you started, you probably needed to know somebody, right? Or you needed a mentor. Now it's totally changed just in terms of the on-ramp to these sports. You have climbing gyms, you have yoga in the park, you have whitewater parks, you can watch YouTube videos to shortcut the on-ramp. But
it's a lot more approachable to get involved, and people can dabble in more things as well too. You don't have to be as like hardcore about just one thing, I feel like, anymore.
You are so right. So
call it the fitness explorer, I think, right?
Fitness explorer. And what I saw, we did this thing, it was the Big Ideas Day. This might have been 10 years ago, maybe longer, but we brought in a bunch of publishers and queried them. And what we saw happening was this intersection of outdoor and fitness. Like they used to be totally separate, right? Like you were a gym person or you went outdoor and you like didn't like gym people. And that's why you did these weird sports. But now, 10 years ago, you started to see fitness and gym training and weightlifting preparing you to be a better trail runner, skier, be a more durable mountain athlete. So that fitness intersection really brought net new audiences, growth opportunities for these outdoor brands, and really catalyzed a lot of growth, that intersection of outdoor and fitness. Then you have demographic trends, experience-based economy, and urbanization colliding with the pandemic. So then pandemic happened, and participation trends you're referencing, you're spot on, through the roof, right? Trail use, all that stuff. And every brand we work with, high fives. Record, scary starting going into COVID, stimulus checks, time to do their hobby. People are buying bikes and tents and climbing shoes and new ropes and all that stuff. And our brands were having record numbers. Backbone doubled their business between 2018 and 2023 from a revenue and headcount side of things, up to, at that time, about 120 people on the team, grew from 6. So have grown significantly. And those participation numbers are interesting to continue to look at. So coming out of COVID, the outdoor industry was more organized in terms of political clout, economic influence, adding $1 trillion to the GDP, adding 7.2 million jobs, and having a seat at the table in terms of what's happening in the world. So amazing to see that growth. It includes about a half of Americans participate in some sort of outdoor activity. That includes barbecuing and, a little softer.
They go outside.
Yeah, they go outside. But now you're seeing, and this is really interesting, just hit it. You're seeing top line participation grow this year by 2%. But you're seeing
so it still is trending up.
Slightly. You're seeing a big decline with the core. So somebody that may run 5 days a week or whatnot, you're seeing the growth all come from casual. So just exactly what you're saying, casual participants are driving the growth. And then when you look at demographic trends within that, you see people that want to sample, like maybe they want to fly fish a little bit and then they want to stand up paddleboard, but they're not committing their life to being a backpacker and doing the Appalachian. It's just changed a bit generationally in terms of how individuals engage with these sports, more sports. We're seeing a lot of brands that rent gear and kind of reworn, resell, repair type stuff is definitely trending on the positive.
REI garage sale people.
Yep, exactly.
Love it. So I have a couple of additional observations that I'd love to get your take on. So I interviewed Anders Bergstrom earlier in the week, who ran Uggs and Teva. Yep. And one of the things that he commented on, especially with the growth of the Teva brand, is that, outdoor became aspirational. It became an aspirational lifestyle. So people, with Instagram and the proliferation of like outdoor content creators, like all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's not crunchy hippies in the woods. This is like an aspirational lifestyle. And if you have the opportunity to go explore the outdoors, it's kind of like signals a little bit of like, you've made it. These are cool vacations to have. It became an aspirational thing to become outdoor fluent and to go on these types of vacations in addition to like going to Europe or whatever. I'm also curious, branded content, being an Earn guy, how important were documentary films like Free Solo and some of these, movies that just like went absolutely bananas as far as like just showing people like the extreme athleticism and the mental fortitude that some of these guys have that get out there and do some of this, like, the hardest of the hardcore in the category. Like how did those impact participation and growth of the category?
Yeah, it's interesting. I could probably talk for 3 hours about Free Solo and the genre of content. I mentioned we brought the Banff Mountain Film Festival to Philadelphia. I'm on the board of a 5 Point Film Festival here. We work with Yeti Coolers, who has been a client for almost 10 years, who really has established themselves as a leader through Yeti Presents and the films that they make. You could watch a Yeti Presents film. You might tear up. You might share it with your family. You might see it at a film fest, but you might not see any Yeti product in there whatsoever. So more of this content marketing and just great storytelling to buoy the brand. So we've been really, really close to Yeti there. But as you talk about more of these mainstream Dawn Wall, Free Solo, The Alpinist, if you've never watched that with Mark Leclerc, like unbelievable genre. It's interesting, and having worked closely with everybody in those films, I don't know from a participation side of things that it really changes things much. If I'm at a dinner, everybody always wants to talk about Free Solo, and is it kind of the craziest thing they've ever seen? And having
it made my feet sweat.
Yeah, and I mean, me too. I've been up on El Cap. I climbed that route. It took us 5 days, not one. And our rope was really, really tight. Like no free stuff. But I just love having started the climbing gym so long ago, the evolution and the change, and see what it's done for Alex and Tommy, and kind of the growth of the sport. Now, just looking at climbing gyms and investment and private equity and multi-million-dollar facilities with retail and coffee shops and the programming that it's become. I don't know that it's been catalyzed by some of that mainstream media, but yeah, it's
hard to say. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, what you're saying makes sense. Just because Drive to Survive is super successful on Netflix and really kind of paves the way for F1 to become a sport in the United States. That doesn't mean people are out there picking up and trying to get into race cars and trying to become race cars. They become fans of the sport. They become fans of the category. I'm sure those particular climbers' profile raised quite a bit and they got a lot of fans and followers who were outside of the core demographic because they were such massive successful hits. But I see where you can you can be a fan of content and not necessarily expand participation. But just curious about that. So you said something before that I thought was really interesting, and I think that maybe takes us into kind of the current models of earned, which is, influencer marketing, branded content. Of course, PR and traditional journalism is extremely important. But as we sit here today on, the Ad Podcast, not a podcast on Ad Age or Ad Week, the importance of independent journalism and creator culture is exploding. And you guys you mentioned something along the lines of a quote that Dustin Hines, who we talked about before we jumped on camera, this idea of shouting at the core so loud that everybody else can hear How have you guys transitioned how you approach that from an earned strategy back when you were getting editors out to press events and sending equipment to publishers, and now in this new world of creative culture and influencer marketing? How have you adapted to the new world we find ourselves in as people want to migrate audiences to social media, et cetera?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I was waiting to see how you were going to define earn. So I like how you're talking about PR, content marketing, influencer marketing. You didn't say affiliate, and it's interesting whether affiliate is performance PR or what is that. And maybe in a little bit way of our worldview and how we really like to work with brands is the intersection around brand, community, and performance. And really, it's that C. And sometimes we'll say brands need more C. And, it's pretty simple. And you want this balance of this three-legged stool between brand, community, performance. But really, when you look at that community aspect of the brand and how to engage and give back to that community that you mentioned is so influential beyond, you need to, we think, be an authentic member of that community. You need to understand where you would be able to understand where influence comes from. Is it a Reddit? Is it Slack? A Substack? Is it working with the right creator, being at the right event? But really kind of immersing yourself and understanding a community at a deep level, I think allows us on the earned and the paid side to really understand and drive influence and hopefully create relevancy from that C side of things. I think we were not solely unique, we were more unique in terms of being authentic members of communities. Now there's a lot of agencies out there that are members of those communities. So I do then think you need to think about the brand and how you can take that permission, you can take that core influence and scale it from the paid and the earned side of things, and really go from being not kind of an insider side of things, but make that brand accessible, take it to that next concentric circle, which then sets it up for the performance side of things and that harvest everybody's looking for. It feels like to me, coming out of COVID, people were harvesting a bit. Like it was going a little bit lower funnel. People were loving the return on ad spend. Customer acquisition numbers were through the roof. Social followings going through the roof, and brands were enjoying the harvest that they were seeing. It was really, really driving business. I think coming into 2025, we were starting to feel enthusiasm to invest more into the brand, pump it up to the top of the funnel a little bit more, make those investments that help fuel that bottom of the funnel. And now we're starting to see brands pull back a little bit. It's like some of that great investment that we're really hopeful, doing a lot of planning. I think with the economic uncertainty, what's happening in the world right now is causing brands to be a bit more cautious on the brand side of things and staying a little bit lower funnel than they intended. So I didn't totally answer your question, but I really see earned as being very, very important to the community side of things. And our PR team, our creator teams, just being able to brief journalists in, speak authentically, add value, select the right creators, and then brief them in and allow them to speak to their language. That's where I think us talking about John DeQual, aligning him on the BD side of things makes a lot of sense.
That's awesome. So as an agency who has created this amazing brand yourself within these enthusiasm categories and within these communities, are you ever tapped by brands that have that are not from the category but want to get into the category, like a bank or an airline or an automotive? Like, do they ever come to you to try and figure out, because like you said, half of Americans are now consider themselves outdoor enthusiasts. It's like for a long time, people would think of, multicultural agencies as, a niche, when now multicultural marketing is mainstream. Do you guys find opportunities to work on, let's say, more traditional clients within those lenses?
Yeah, all day. Yes, we do. So it used to be, again, the you need that secret handshake. Now you can feel kind of the rest of the world is starting to take note of what is happening in outdoor. And we talk about outdoor adjacent. You look at things like overlanding, backyard barbecue, food and bev, tourism. In 2008, New Belgium Brewing, an iconic time for craft beer, right? Like just loving it. They were operating at the intersection of beer, whimsy, and bikes. That's cool. Like, that'd be a cool client. So they had worked with, I don't know if you know a name, Doug Holt. He was a marketer back in the early 2000s that really was credited with developing the cultural branding theory. And he did a lot of work with Ben & Jerry's and a lot of brands like that over time. And he worked with a guy, a CMO of New Belgium, Greg Owsley, who I consider a mentor of mine. And at the time, their target audience was mountain insiders. They wanted to target mountain insiders to take advantage of what they saw happen with Fat Tire. You come to Colorado, you go to a Red Rocks concert or Vail ski trip, you go back to Chicago and you want to have a Fat Tire and you tell all your friends, and it just grew. So Doug, they did this big brand project, worked with Greg and said, your target's mountain insiders. So then Greg, in this big pitch that we had, he's like, well, I'm going to hire the mountain insiders. So that was
nice. Let's go.
You're like high fives, 2008. I remember personally, I was trying to buy a house. I was like, great, that's really cool. It was great timing. And it was such a fun time with New Belgium. We were rolling new states, Florida and North Carolina. We were launching Ranger, which now has become Voodoo Ranger. They were our first $1 million ad buy. And again, working at the intersection of whimsy, craft beer, and bikes. We're just like, yeah, great clients. So we don't work with them now, but we had a great decade-long relationship with them. So I'd say really representative of going beyond this core outdoor and the influence that has. So New Belgium, certainly Yeti now being almost a $2 billion publicly traded company. We have done work with Bank of the West over the time, but to launch their 1% for the Planet checking account. So, a bigger brand wanted to come to us, which was nice with a bigger budget, to go show up authentically and credibly to the outdoor and sustainability community. So certainly when we look at growth beyond that, current clients like Strava, AG1, Breckenridge Tourism, we have many clients that go beyond outdoor, but still within outdoor, the Smart Wolves, Thule's, Black Diamonds, Yetis of the world is core to who we are. And we have this brand, Alpaca. They're in Mancos, Colorado. They have very few clients. Penn and I went and pitched Thor and his wife, they've like created the sport of pack rafting in Moab in the winter, and they took us pack rafting. I don't do any, I'm just like rafting down, in my little boat, and we won the business, and we've been with them for years. They are so hyper core and niche, which is awesome for us. They're not going to make our year from the top line side of things, but the credibility that they bring us, and then say the attractiveness that makes Backbone to bigger brands, it's this great balance. The bigger we get, the smaller we need to remain.
I love it. That's awesome. So you talked about a lot of your clients doubling over COVID. You guys as an agency doubled over COVID as well. Can you talk a little bit about how do you sustain that kind of growth as an agency? How do you keep the culture? You guys seem very like culture, lifestyle, work-life balance. Some of these things are very important core values to you. And then we talked a little bit about, the idea of attracting great talent. One of the funny things about that agency in Boulder, they told me that half the executives that would come out from other agencies to interview would turn the town car around before it got to Boulder, because they went halfway. They came out from New York or LA or Chicago. They were driving out to Boulder, and they're like, "Holy shit, we're driving through farms and cow country. Like I can't do this." And they tell the town car to take them back to the airport. So tell me a little about your growth story, but how do you as an agency protect your values and grow in a way that keeps who you are core to the shop.
Yeah, I mean, we've grown. We have over 100 people on our team. We are hybrid in the way we work. We have our mountain office here in Carbondale and our city office in Denver, and then people across 20 states. So it has been a challenge just in terms of evolving culture. I think culture needs care and feeding. It's going to be very different than 6 of us here and let's go mountain biking at lunch. People have different interests. They're in Oklahoma, they're in Boise, they're in these different communities. So I do think the culture side of things, which is central to who we are, it needs care and feeding, it needs attention, and we need to overlay that with, I'd say our growth mindset. We want to continue to meet the market. We want to evolve our services, and PR is a big part of what we do. It's not the majority of our business, but just continuing to evolve the services that we have, underpaid and earned media. I mentioned affiliate marketing, creator marketing, SEO, SEM, retail marketing, paid media. So we have, I could say, 10 different pipes that you could have a scope with Backbone. We want to bring those teams closer together. We were born naturally through trust, so a little bit of siloed, but evolving account marketing or account management, integrated marketing, and really being able to meet brands with a more nimble and flexible service offering is where we're seeing a lot of opportunity. And yeah, culture, it's a big thing. I did a little bit of a survey. I thought this might be fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just in terms of let me see, I'll find it here. What people like about Backbone that's unique to our culture. So
let's go.
We've always had a powder clause. It snows more than 8 inches. Just be back by 1, make up your time, so we've always had a powder clause. Our annual get together, our annual retreat, we don't go backward. We have growth mindset. It's called the charge. So the charge is what we do. We have everybody here in Carbondale. We go to this beautiful ranch. We camp together and we gamble a little bit of dice. We're out on the trails. We have a business meeting. It doesn't feel like forced fun. I always ask. I'm like, does this feel like forced fun? And people are like, no, at least they're telling me. 2 thumbs up.
So let's go.
Charge is great. We describe ourselves as a personality of specialists of Stoke. And we didn't know if you could use the word Stoke in a business setting, but we're like, it's our company. Well, let's use it. So we describe ourselves as specialists of Stoke. So that's what our winter meeting is. It's the Stoke meeting. We pair that with a ski day. We've been on the outside best places to work list many times. Pro deals, Backbone bucks for gear. The cattle drive I mentioned, we have a cattle drive goes by the office, is really unique. We do Backbone rodeo nights. So also volunteer days and stuff happening in Denver with Rockies games and just a lot of the kind of volleyball and whatnot. But yeah, culture is different. We had a guy, Casey Sheehan, who worked with us a bit. He was formerly the CEO of Patagonia. And he told me that. And he's just like, you got to feed it. It's going to change. Even at Patagonia, you got to iconic in terms of their culture. And that's something that I think about because our 25-year-old employees have different cultural, expectations than people that have been here 15 years.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, again, your tenure is definitely telling. You're making it sound very fun. I hope you guys are doing lunch and learns and letting reps come and visit you again because you would definitely be on my list.
Yeah, we always love good lunch and learn, and the savvy partners of ours always time it on a Friday. Right. And then one of our favorite things to do is ski for work. So if we can ever,
love that ski meeting. Let's go. All right. When you look back at your time growing Backbone from fewer than 10 people up to over 100 people today, is there any inflection point moments, any moments stand out as like a kind of a key make it or break it moment that was like, okay, this was crucial to our evolution and our success, or this was a close call and we maybe didn't know if we were going to make it?
We've been fortunate. We have grown pretty steadily over the years. So there weren't really the make or break side of things. I would say Backbone, we are a network. Our growth has been absolutely catalyzed by the Polar Tex, Yeti, Black Diamond, New Belgium side of things. So just being, just raising our profile beyond outdoor, and then that word of mouth that has fueled for us every single day. Just the brand that Backbone has become. I'm amazed when I travel. People are like, oh yeah, I know Backbone. I'm like, how would you know?
So cool.
It's surprising to me. So yeah, it's been the brands that we work with. It wasn't like a tech investment. It wasn't necessarily a key hire. It's more of the work we're doing with these brands every day.
Love it. Structurally, are you guys still independent, part of a holding company or network?
No.
Nice.
We're independent. We love that. We got to jam every single day. We have great clients and we want to have fun doing it. We want to enjoy each other's company. And I've always, from the time I started the Philly Rock Gym, I've always worked with friends. And I find that I love working with friends. We've had the highest of highs. We've had the lowest of lows. So just the ability to continue to work with friends, make new friends, people that leave Backbone, the more Backboners in the world, the better. I probably saw like 4 on the river yesterday, just floating. What are you doing here? And, type stuff. So it's been the people, the brands that have done it over the years.
Yeah, that's nice to graduate alumni and, they go on to other places and then they can hire you because they had a great experience and they know the culture and all that stuff. So if you could go back and give Greg, who joined Backbone in 1997, one piece of advice, what would you tell that version of yourself?
I would just get close to the clients, in agency work, just like be close to your brand, be close to your client, know their competitors, just know their business inside and out. And I've always found if I was on vacation or just when you get close to the client work on the agency side, it's a big cliche, but I've seen some younger people come into the business and that's always my advice. It's how do you get closer to the client work? How do you get closer to what drives this business?
I love it. All right, we're coming down to the final stretch here. We're coming up to an hour, and I know I've got you a couple of hours past 5 o'clock on my side of the world. So what are you most excited about the future of the work that you guys are doing at Backbone?
I am most excited about the people here and seeing their careers. We have so many amazing people here. We've built out a director team. It's about 28 people across the business, great leaders. We have an incredible client roster. So we say Backbone, our tagline's the here and the next, just not the here and the now, it's the next and what things will become. So, continuing to meet the market, continuing to invest in our team's career. That's what I'm thinking about these days.
I love it, man. Well, this was a refreshing podcast. We didn't talk about AI, so that was good.
On topic. I like it. I'm like, I hope he doesn't ask me about AI. High fives as opposed to.
I love it, man. Well, look, I think if there was another major takeaway from Can is that I think the AI-ification of marketing and the hype cycle, I think this is different than some past hype cycles. It definitely is in NFTs or the metaverse. Right. But I think it's also showing that creativity is still more important than ever. And standing for something, purpose-driven brands, a lot of the stuff that you guys have worked on, culture, some of those things will not ever go away, because as long as humans are still in control of buying things, which is definitely going to be the case, they're going to need real people to tell them stories. So I'm excited about the work that you guys are doing, and really, have been aware of you and much more excited to have gotten to know you guys a little bit through the podcast. And I'm excited for my audience, my viewers, to learn more as well. So, Greg, if people want to learn more on that note, where should they go? And if they want to connect with you directly, where would you like to send folks?
Yeah, our website's just easy. It's backbone.media, and I'm on LinkedIn. Send me a message. And Dylan, this is really fun. I was a little nervous on my first podcast today.
Hey, you killed it. You killed it.
As soon as you told me you climbed, I'm like, no problem. It'll be good.
Yeah, well, I think we made the day when you took the axe off the wall. So,
Yeah. Sounds good.
Love it.
Fun.
All right, everybody. For those of you who are watching along at home, if you are new to the show and you found us somehow organically today, don't forget to give us a like or a follow wherever you might be listening or watching the podcast. If you give us an honest review, that's how the show finds a bigger audience organically. And if there's a marketer out there somewhere in your life that would rather take their next business meeting on the mountain versus a boardroom, if there is somebody who you think needs to learn more about how shouting the core can make your brand more relevant and more exciting to the rest of us, and if there is somebody in the client side who you think needs to know more about these guys, we would love for you to share the show. So with that being said, Greg, thanks again for spending some time with us, and I will look forward to a lunch and learn in near time and come visit you guys in Colorado.
Sounds great, Dylan. Thanks for the connect.